Hello and welcome back to Far Beyond the World. We're gonna continue where we left off. I wave him away. With the black wolf gone, an awkward silence falls over the room, but I don't mind. Somehow this gray wolf makes me feel safe and at ease. I sit quietly on the bed, looking at the bright afternoon outside the window, anxiously kneading the sheets. Ranok keeps standing at his spot, not moving or saying anything. I can feel his gaze drill into me as he carefully inspects every inch of my body with a rather odd smile. What? What? You keep staring at me. Being called out, Ranok turns his gaze to the side with embarrassment. Well, I've never seen a human before. Didn't you get a pretty good look when you found me? He still avoids facing me, the inside of his ears growing red. No, you were unconscious. I only did what I had to save you. I chuckle at his troubled reaction. I guess he took it the wrong way. If you've never seen a human before, how did you know I was one? Well, we have stories. Of humans? Among many others. We know you have pink skin, almost no fur aside from the head, that sort of stuff. I roll my eyes. Beige. Huh? My skin is beige. I'd have to stay out in the sun for quite a while to become pink. And humans can have a much darker complexion as well. Is that so? I guess we just haven't dealt with those in the past. Ranok grins, and we enter another awkward silence. The bright sun and distinctive smell of flowers makes me think of spring, although that doesn't seem quite right to me. It's almost as if the seasons got mixed up somehow. However, cool air brushing over my naked body convinces me beyond a doubt that this is indeed spring. I shiver slightly, reminded that I'm not wearing any clothes. Why am I look down at my strange loincloth. Almost naked. Where are my clothes? I found you how the Mother Moon made you. And this... I point to the material covering my groin. I put that on for obvious reasons. Right. My eyes widen in realization that this wolf had not only seen me naked, but also put on me what just as well could have been a diaper. I feel my face burning red, heat rising to my cheeks. Thank you. I blurt out awkwardly. I can see the wolf pick up on my train of thoughts just as he looks to the side with his ears folded back, but he quickly regains his composure. You're welcome. As much as I want to change the subject, I need to make sure I understand what he meant. So, I was passed out in the woods, butt naked. Pretty much. He shrugs, clearly as uncomfortable with the topic as I am. I'm not sure why. It's not like he was the one that was whisked away in the nude by a strapping wolfman. This is some first-class damsel in distress crap. Weird. Yeah. The wolf sits down on the bed, leaving some distance between us. We avoid looking at each other, although we both sneak a peek from time to time. I can't understand what I was doing naked in the forest. It just doesn't sound like something I would do. It had to be someone else who did this to me, and it's an unsettling thought. Was I kidnapped? Mugged and left for dead? Or maybe drugged and taken into the woods to... No. I shake my head. I don't even want to entertain that idea. However, I can't help but wonder how I ended up there. And where's my home? I must have a family somewhere, someone who loves and cares about me. Someone who would be searching for me. But nothing comes to mind, only this wolf. Without him, I would be completely alone here, and that's terrifying. I can hear his tail swishing across the linen. He's either nervous or excited. His paw slides slowly across the bedding towards my leg. I try not to notice, curious what he's up to, until he pricks me with his dull claw. What are you doing? I scoff in amusement. Sorry, this is all new to me. I'm simply curious. Didn't mean any offense. He fidgets with his fingers, looking innocently at the window. No, it's fine, I guess. Seems only fair after I felt you up. Yeah, you took some liberties. He smirks, giving me a side eye. Okay then. I decide to move closer to him, pushing out my chest with a challenging smile. Let's get even. I gently tease him, watching him closely all the while. Ranok looks at me with surprise in his eyes, but quickly smiles back, his tail wagging in obvious joy. He slowly reaches out his paw, hesitant to touch me outright. I think he doesn't want to come off as too eager, and I smirk, tilting my head a little in a "really" expression. He scoffs and finally musters the courage to make contact, touching my chest with his warm pads. I look down at his paw and I can't help but feel amazed. It easily covers both my breasts, really driving home how tiny I am compared to this guy. Ranok rubs me gently for a moment and then moves his paw to my shoulder. It tickles, but I try to maintain my composure. Being touched like this is weird enough without me making it even weirder with a girly giggle. If I'm really the first human he's ever met, then I know perfectly well how confusing and mesmerizing this has to be for him. After all, I lived through the same experience just a few moments ago. You're quite something, he mutters, sliding his fingertips along my arm. Soft and fragile, your skin almost like parchment. I furrow my brows at the comparison, but then again, I guess it's true. And compared to them, I am quite fragile. Aren't you cold? He asks absent-mindedly while brushing his paw across my side. Another ticklish cramp shoots through my body and I can no longer rein in my instincts. I twist with a hearty laugh, pushing his paw away. Stop! That tickles. Oh? He gasps in amusement. Good to know. But yeah, I am quite cold, actually. Do you happen to have any shirts I could borrow? Ranok grins awkwardly, pointing to his furry body. Right, I guess you have no need for any. The only thing I could offer is my spare gapsum, but I doubt it would be comfortable. He points to his padded quilt, and I have to agree. Not sure how I would even wear that. It just needs to cover my top, really. I sigh, looking around for something else to cover myself with. I settle for one of the blankets that lays on the bed, tugging at it. Ranok stands for a moment, allowing me to pull it out from underneath him. I wrap it around myself, almost like a poncho, shielding my body from the draft. So, what do we do now? I ask, looking at the wolf with a risen brow. We could talk. We could get to know each other. I shake my head. I meant this whole mess we found ourselves in. Ah. Well, I think I'm responsible for returning you to your people. Whoever they may be. I shrug, knowing full well I have no idea where I would even return to. None of this feels right. Even if it seems fairly real, I have a nagging feeling that I don't belong here. Almost as if it were just a dream, something I need to write out until I finally wake up. Your memories will return in time, I'm sure of it. Well, I'm not. In the meantime, I just need to protect you. From what you two said earlier that might be easier said than done. That's where Verissa comes in. She's our shaman. If anyone can figure out how to sort this out, it's her. Sort out how? Well, I can't hide you in my home forever. Sooner or later, someone would sniff you out. He frowns for just a moment, but a confident smile quickly returns to his muzzle. I just need to find an angle to present your case to our chief and to ensure your safety. And what is my case? That you have a right to sanctuary. Meaning, it's an ancient Sylvan law preceding any of the Wolven laws. It means that any gravely wounded creature should be granted protection within our forest. But I'm not wounded. I glance over my body, checking both the torso and the sides. I can't see my back, so I reach out with my hands, trying to feel out anything. At least, not gravely. I am sore, but my skin for the most part seems to be intact. When I found you, I thought you were. And even now, although you're not physically hurt, it's clear you suffered some sort of trauma. If you found me naked, why would you think I was hurt? Ranok winces at the question. This doesn't bid well. Ranok. He remains silent, clearly struggling with the answer, and my voice filled with dread. Why did you think I was gravely wounded? You were covered in blood and viscera. A lot of it. I blink. What? I thought you were attacked and left for dead. What the hell? I can't even begin to imagine myself splayed out naked in the middle of the forest, let alone drenched in blood. But again, I reach around to feel my body and find nothing. The blood couldn't have been mine. What was going on in that forest? This whole situation gets weirder and weirder with each word the wolf utters. You were unresponsive, and your heartbeat was so faint. I thought you were dying. His voice falters slightly, causing me to swallow hard. I'm glad I was out for that part. I had to try and save you, so I decided to bring you here. I came upon Volgar halfway to the village. He might not want to admit it, but even he was shaken by your state. At least, it made it easier to convince him to help smuggle you. I can't imagine Volgar being moved by anything, and that one sentiment alone drives home how terrifying I must have looked. It seemed like you barely survived a massacre. Once we got you here, I began cleaning you up of all the blood, washing you bit by bit. I feel a hot flush as it dawns on me what this means. I was out cold, naked, and this wolf... You... washed me? I swallow heavily again, the lump in my throat growing larger. Even though it's obvious he had to, the idea is quite embarrassing. He mirrors my discomfort, looking away with the defensive tone in his voice. I needed to find where the blood was coming from, but I couldn't find anything. There was not a single scratch on your body. He's so flustered that I almost feel bad for him. I didn't mean to insinuate anything. I smile at his hasty explanation, just wanting to put him at ease. There are a few now, I say with a cheeky grin, showing a few scrapes and bruises left by the black wolf. Although Ranok smiles for a moment, I can see his ears splay back. My good intentions seem to have backfired. Sorry about that. It's not your fault. I touch his shoulder, trying to reassure him. Well, I did leave you in his care. True, and knowing him just a few moments, I wouldn't leave him alone with another living being. I chuckle, trying to cheer him up. But you didn't have a choice. Yeah. He sounds unconvinced, looking away towards the window. I can tell he feels responsible for me, and what Volgar did doesn't sit well with him. I decide to drop the subject, but I appreciate seeing how much he cares about it. So, the blood wasn't mine? Ranok slumps, resting his elbow on his knees and looking straight at the floor. In retrospect, if it was yours, it would have meant that you were bled dry. There was so much of it. That's one of the reasons why Volgar quickly turned against you. What? Why? To him, it meant that you weren't a victim, but rather... Can't think I had anything to do with that. I protest, throwing my arms out. I mean, look at me. Do I look like I'm capable of eviscerating someone? Well, I don't think you are, but it did unsettle him. Besides, it goes deeper than that. I had a moral right to save you, had you been hurt. But you were not. I brought you here into the village under a false pretense. But you didn't know that at the time. I should have checked before I acted. As it stands, You are either dangerous or somehow involved in blood magic. I'm not I cut myself off, allowing his words to fully sink in. Wait, did you just say blood magic? Are you for real? I scoff. I am. There's magic? He looks at me with a serious gaze, as if ignoring my silly question. The more Vulgar and I thought about it, the more convinced we became that you were part of some sort of dark ritual. What? I freeze, not out of fright, but utter disbelief. I think you were meant as a sacrifice. My mind is spinning, unable to comprehend what I'm being told. I don't even... I pause, still staring blankly at the wall. You okay? Talking wolves. Strange feelings of dread. Whispers in the dark. And now blood magic. It's like a mad dream. I can't contain the storm in my mind, and I just spew out everything in quick succession. I think I need a pause here. You keep saying these things, but I don't understand any of them. You might as well be talking in a foreign language. I get a massive headache just by listening to you. It's like you're from another fucking world. In a sense, we are. He shrugs casually, but to me nothing about this is casual. I want to say something, but I'm immediately cut off by the sound of a door opening in the adjacent room. Someone entered the cabin. They're here. The Grey Wolf raises to his feet, approaching the door. Great, so much for my pause. I mumble in annoyance, knowing full well I have to digest another portion of complete nonsense. A female's voice reaches us from the other room just as Ranok opens the door. I bet it's a shaman they spoke of. If this is another one of your pathetic attempts at courtship, then... A white she-wolf snorts at Vulgar before she cuts off, entering the room. I'm immediately drawn to her moonstone. It's a quarter moon. By Aluna, it's an actual human! As opposed to what? An imaginary one? She looks quite young to be a shaman, and even though I'm not familiar with what shamans actually do, something tells me they should be a bit more... experienced. Her golden eyes gaze at me with disbelief for a moment before turning to Ranok. Have you lost your damn mind? She glares furiously at the Grey Wolf, who winces and slumps slightly in deference. Verissa? Now it's the female who stumbles back, evidently startled by the sound of her name coming from my lips. Did it speak my... Don't get too excited. We mentioned your name to the humans several times. No spiritual trickery involved. I tried to contain a smirk at Vulgar's remark. His pragmatism and down-to-earth attitude are really starting to grow on me. The female's eyes narrow as she moves closer, but she still keeps a safe distance between herself and the bed. So that's what a human looks like. Her eyebrows raise at my appearance, and I swear I can hear a hint of disappointment in her voice. It's as if she expected something, well, something more than I have to offer. This one seems rather small, no? I throw an annoyed gaze towards Vulgar. I know I'm not a bodybuilder like those two, but I don't need them to rub it in every chance they get. Yes, it does. But then again, I wouldn't know. Never seen one before. The female shrugs, and all my hopes of her actually giving me some medical attention melt away. How can she treat a creature if she's never encountered it before? Surely you have to know something. Ranok echoes my concern. Yes, Ranok. I know they have 2 legs, upright creatures between 5 to 6 feet tall, with little to no fur. Her voice conveys a sense of annoyance that I can almost relate to. I only have our text to go by, and they don't really deal with humans in detail. I don't think anyone's even seen one in almost 2 generations. If humans are indeed as rare as they make them out to be, how can they expect her to know anything more than they do? Still, the idea of me being some sort of endangered species doesn't quite sit right with me, almost as if I'm in a topsy-turvy world. Oh joy. This is going to be that more interesting to explain to his father. Who's Ranok's father? You've been making a huge fuss about him ever since I woke up. The two males look at each other, while the female seems to be completely focused on me, her expression full of shock, no doubt caused by me speaking. I roll my eyes, knowing the conversation is going to be derailed by this at any moment. He's the chief. The chief is Ranok's father? I blurt out, thrown off by the revelation. Somehow, I thought those were two different wolves. Wasn't that obvious from the conversation? Sorry, I didn't keep track of all the nonsense you two were spewing. What else did I miss? But if the chief is Ranok's father, that's surely an advantage. You weren't bluffing. It does speak our language. Unnerving. Oh great, here we go again. Yes, I can talk. I bark out in annoyance. So, can we please not do this again? Verissa looks at me as one would look at an insolent child. I told you, not a trace of an accent. We already kind of exhausted that subject. The kid speaks, let's just leave it at that. The Grey Wolf comes to my aid and I smile at him with gratitude. I really do not want to revisit this conversation. It almost mentally broke me the last time. Verissa sighs and nods in understanding. Listen, child. You cannot speak a word to anyone else but us. I furrow my brows. Being talked down and patronized doesn't sit right with me. They're not that much older than I am. I'm not a child. Then again, they are talking beasts. My ability to judge their age by looks must be somewhat limited, but I'm sure Ranok cannot be that much older than me. He mentioned that he just came of age, right? Oh, how old are you then? I cut myself off, again struggling with this ever-present nothingness in my mind. I can't remember how old I am, but I know I'm not a child. I'm of age, I surmise. Not exactly sure whatever that means to wolves, but fairly certain that for a human that's exactly what I am. Curious. You don't look it. She mutters unconvinced. I would take it as a compliment, but I can bet it's another jab at how small I am. It doesn't really matter now, does it? My quip causes Ranok to laugh. Witty and a sharp tongue. The female looks at Ranok with a hint of fear in her eyes. This is serious. Oh, for crying out loud. Why are you all so obsessed with my ability to speak? Why do you want me to play mute in front of the others? I can see that she gets more spooked out with each sentence I utter, and it only frustrates me more. Are you telling me that humans are supposed to be some sort of primitive cavemen? Is that what this is? Because let me tell you, this house and your outfits look like they're out of a fucking history book. What? It's a good house. Ranok glances around his room with slight confusion while Verissa briefly checks out her dress. We know that your species isn't primitive. Then why do you want me to play dumb? She finally snaps at me with a soft, almost melodic growl. Because others won't understand. And we do? What is there to understand? I ask in resignation. No outsider speaks our language. We don't teach it to otherkin. She almost says it with disgust in her voice. The only creatures that can speak our tongue are the other Avalon wolves. And the huskies. But they always have this unbearable twang to the way they speak. You speaking to us like you were born here, it's unheard of. Bordering on sacrilegious. She rests her face in her paw, rubbing her temple. Sacrilegious? Our language is part of who we are as a people. It was given to us by our ancestors, to keep and to guard as our own, so that we only can communicate with them. We don't take kindly to other kin who try to learn it, Teaching outsiders is a capital offense. I don't know why or how I would learn it. Which is more of a reason for you to keep quiet. It's clear someone had to teach you from the way you speak. It was obviously one of our own. Not only is your life in danger, you could send the entire tribe into a frenzy. Frenzy? It's clear someone betrayed us and broke our laws by teaching outsiders to speak. You're the walking proof of that. We'd have the elders clamoring for blood. And that's the last thing our tribe needs now, more paranoia. This is all utter nonsense. I've never seen a talking wolf in my life. Until today, that is. I shrug. The female looks at me expectantly, but I have nothing else to add. Bulger said you seem to be suffering from a memory loss. I'd say it's far more likely that you don't remember meeting a wolf who taught you our language, rather than you miraculously gaining the ability out of the blue. Wouldn't you agree? I guess. I reluctantly concede. In all fairness, both options seem equally plausible, because to me none of this makes any sense. But I'm not about to argue that with a she-wolf who's convinced that her reality is more valid than mine. Especially since we apparently need her to save my skin. Now that we have this out of the way, let us deal with a more pressing matter. What in the name of Aluna is this human even doing here? I rest my cheeks in my hands, slumping down as Ranok begins to explain his entire misadventure. I pay as much attention as I can, as some parts of the story flew over my head earlier. However, there is no surprises. Ranok went on his spiritual trip, couldn't find any enlightenment, so he decided to meditate underneath his tree. Whatever that means. Apparently that's where he found me, drenched in blood. I have to question the ancestors the wolves worship. If this is truly all part of their plan, it's a shoddy one at best. The whole setup seems more akin to a horror story than an actual spiritual journey, but then again, what do I know? I watch as the female listens carefully to what is being said, but she doesn't show any emotion, even when Ranok clumsily tries to implicate her through his coming-of-age ceremony, or suggests that it was part of some sort of dark ritual. She is eerily calm, or at least good at hiding her inner thoughts. That's pretty much it. The Grey Wolf concludes his explanation and silence falls over the room. It drags on for a bit, while we all look at Verissa expectantly. She keeps us in suspense a little while longer, most likely weighing her options. Sweet ancestors, you are the dumbest wolf in the tribe, if not the whole of Avalon. She sighs, again not showing much of an emotion. Can you help me protect him? What choice do I have? Finally, something, a hint of annoyance. It's not exactly filling me with hope, but Vulgar proves me wrong. You really want to get involved? You've already involved me. Besides, other kin or not, this human is not at fault. She looks at me with pity. From what you both told me, the human was out cold. It's Ranok who broke the law. I would not be able to sleep knowing that I allowed an innocent to pay for his stupidity. I find it hardly fair to belittle Ranok like this, not when he saved my life. No need to speak. She cuts me off, addressing the two wolves. This is a very precarious situation. We are risking the fury of our tribe. But can you help us? I need to commune with the spirits. I may have an idea how to fix this, but I want to make sure our ancestors won't find it objectionable. Yeah, sure, go huff some incense while we worry about what to do with this whelp. Again, it's hard not to chuckle at Vulgar's jabs. It's nice for once to not be the one on the receiving end of those. However, I find myself troubled that any plan involving my safety relies on substance abuse. Yes, I will huff some incense so that I can receive guidance on how to avoid us getting banished. The female reiterates through her fangs. They keep talking about banishment, but I don't quite understand what for. If it's about me keeping my mouth shut, I will. That's only one of our problems. The female retorts, looking at me with slight annoyance. I guess she really meant it when she said I shouldn't talk, but I don't care. The forest around our village is sacred. No outsiders are allowed. So they said, but there must be some exceptions. There are none. Trespassing is punishable by death. Even Ranok's delusions about the right of sanctuary is just that. A delusion. She waves her hand towards the Grey Wolf in dismissal. Our people haven't been part of the Slivian for nearly 1,000 years. Claiming ancient customs as a defense for smuggling you in would be trickery to say the least. The idiot should have killed you where he found you. I frown. Seems a bit harsh. Maybe to you, but it's our forest, and it is our duty to protect it. Protect it from what? I don't even know how I got here in the first place. What could I possibly do? The she-wolf sighs, looking at the ceiling with annoyance. I have clearly exhausted her patience. The human asks a lot of questions. I'm sorry, but you keep saying my life is on the line. I'd like to at least understand why. I get the language part, but what possible danger could I pose to your forest? I'm not an arsonist. The female continues to disregard me, causing a moment of silence. She throws an angry stare at Ranok, and I can see his ears splay back as he looks at me apologetically. I'll explain everything later. You said yourself you need a pause, and we need to focus on our next steps. I take a deep breath, giving him a defiant look, but eventually exhale with a drawn-out sigh. As much as I want to understand what's going on, a break would allow me to digest all I have learned so far. My mind is still slightly spinning from all the revelations. I nod with a reluctant smile. It's nice to know how much he cares about my mood. Somehow, I feel like that's not something I'm used to, someone caring. We need to figure out how to present the facts to my father. And those are that I was meant to find Emilio, and that he is meant to be here. You're putting our collective fur on the line. The Black Wolf issues a stifled growl. He is, but as insane as it sounds, claiming this was all fate is our best chance. You can't be serious. Everything will be fine. The spirits willed it. For all our sakes, I really hope that's the case. The female embraces herself, looking at me with a worried, almost empathic expression. This is going to be a tough nut to crack. I hope you two are ready for the potential fallout. Moon knows. I'm not sure I am. Remember your own ceremony? Ranok looks up at her with determination. Your road will be hard, but you must never waver or stray from your path. That was the message you got from the ancestors. He nods confidently, causing the female to stare at him with a slightly open muzzle. None of this was meant to be easy. Verissa smiles softly, and finally approaches me, stopping right next to the bed and placing her paw on my head. It's much smaller and lighter than Ranok's, however the gesture is equally tender. It's surprising that for someone so stupid, you managed to come up with something almost eloquent. Ugh, come on. I hear the Black Wolf protest in the back with a familiar mockery in his voice. Life will be hard, so keep at it. How is that a prophecy? It can apply to anyone in any given situation. It has nothing to do with the human. Shut up, Vol. She sighs, not even regarding him. I found Emilio lying underneath my name tree. He knew my name, speaks our language, and the spirits willed it. It's not a coincidence. Vulgar issues an exhausted sigh. Or is it exactly that? A coincidence. Consider this. He proposes, drawing our attention with his paw. A confused human who speaks our language runs through the forest, stumbles upon a random tree, and reads the inscription. When it faints, it mumbles the last thing it saw. No spirits involved. Even though I don't remember anything prior to my awakening, I might have been running through the woods, and if I did see a tree with his name on it, I'd most likely read it. And you consider this. The female speaks up, slight mockery in her voice, yet she holds her composure. If that was the case, then we're truly done for. All of us. She swooshes her paw around the room, encompassing everyone, even me. If it's all just a coincidence, as you claim, then the human broke the law by entering the grove. He's dead. Her paw points to me, which sends a cold shiver down my spine. I struggle to swallow as my throat clenches tightly. I can feel a bead of sweat running down my forehead. This idiot is facing banishment for not protecting the grove from the intrusion. She points to Ranok, then sighs as her paw nonchalantly waves at the black male. Worse yet, you helped him smuggle an outsider within the boundaries of our village. That's banishment for you too. Not sure what double banishment would mean for Ranok, but I'm fairly certain his father would not kill him, even though the law demands it. I look at the gray male with worry. The consequences he's facing are almost as dire as mine. I guess Vulgar was telling the truth about his friend not thinking things through. And then there's me. The female finally breaks the silence with a resigned exhale. You damn well know that I haven't finished my training. Everyone questions my abilities as a shaman. My very first ceremony, my first communion with the spirit world, and I make Ranok drag a human into the village, breaking our most sacred laws. That's the end of me being a shaman. She lets the words hang for a moment. And now you brought me here, where instead of immediately sounding an alarm, I'm trying to help you to fix this. The penalty for being a part of a conspiracy is banishment. The female points to each of us in quick succession, starting with me, Ranok, Vulgar, and finishing on herself. Death, banishment, banishment, banishment. So, she looks at the black wolf. This is not a silly misunderstanding, Vol. We can't talk our way out of this or use our positions to mitigate the damage. Shall we then all agree that this is the will of the spirits, or should we simply march to the chopping block? She asks with a melodic, almost taunting tone. There is a simple solution, but I'm sure neither of you will approve. Ranok issues a stifled growl. Then why bring it up? Just putting it out there. The black wolf shrugs. Snapping its neck would solve the problem, but it would be slightly awkward now that it has a name. Yes, he does, so you might as well just start using it. I'm going to stick with Piglet for now. No point getting attached just yet. The black wolf tries to give me a cold gaze, but his muzzle is tinged with worry. We're all walking on thin ice here. The female shakes her head in dismissal. Don't you worry. I intend to save our pelts as well as the human's life. The female approaches the door, opening it. So, you know how to fix this? I already said I do. I just need to make sure that I'm not going to offend the ancestors. As she's about to leave, she stops, turning towards the two wolves. Our little congregation was most likely noted. I suggest we disperse not to raise any further suspicion. The wolves nod to each other in agreement. Am I to stay here alone? Emilio, was it? Since you claim you're not a child, I assume you're fine with being on your own. I frown at her snarky remark, but not in agreement. Vol, you keep an eye on the house. Make sure no one's snooping about. Ranok, you must go and speak with Tano. Why? The male scoffs, seemingly appalled by her suggestion. Because not joining your father on the hunt already looked very odd. Chat him up about the rangers or patrols or whatever it is you fur for brains do. Make up an excuse to put him at ease. Who's Tano? A nosy brat. And the last thing we need is him sniffing about. I don't understand. Can't you just stay at home? She looks at me with a slightly raised brow, clearly annoyed I keep talking. We're a tightly knit community. Meeting up in seclusion reeks of dissent. With that, she leaves the room, Vulgar following suit. Only Ranok stays behind for a moment, as if struggling to decide on something. Eventually, he approaches me and crouches next to the bed, so that our eyes are on the same level. He gently squeezes my shoulder with his paw, one of his fangs poking out through his goofy smile. I won't be long, he says encouragingly. Once I'm back, we'll be able to talk some more, okay? I nod and snicker, hearing his tail swoosh against the wooden floor in excitement. The way he wags his tail and with such enthusiasm almost begs the question why the whole place is so dirty. One does not need a broom with a wolf like that around. Ranok! The female calls out impatiently from the other room. Just stay out of sight. I'll be fine. I reassure him, but then I hear a deep rumble inside my stomach. The cramps make me squirm, as if I've never eaten a meal before, and I'm ravenous, and I think the stress of the situation is the only thing that kept my attention away from it. If I could only have something to eat. I see the wolf look at me with a troubled expression, as if he didn't factor in that I require sustenance. Ranok slaps his forehead in deep annoyance. Spirits, I'm so stupid. What is it now? The black wolf calls out from the other room, appearing in the doorway. How are we going to feed him? I can eat pretty much anything. I mumble, although the idea of raw meat is making me queasy. Fuck. Bulger's resigned curse makes me think that my diet is not the main problem here. We eat together as a tribe. Only mothers with pups are allowed to eat separately. Smuggling food home is looked down upon as a sign of gluttony, and would immediately rouse suspicions. I look to Ranok's troubled expression. I can see he didn't think this through. None of it. But as he met my worried gaze, his expression changes immediately. I'll get you some food, he says, determined, but slight unease lines his voice. No, I'll do it. We both look at Vol with surprise. I'll be keeping an eye on the house anyway. He shrugs with a hint of embarrassment, and even Ranok picks up on it, smirking. You're warming up to Emilio, aren't you? Psst, as if, you idiot. It's just easier that way. The black male scoffs indignantly. No one would dare follow me. Once the feast starts, I'll bring the piglet some roast. I hope roasted meat agrees with you. I smile in relief, as the thought of eating raw meat was banished by his words. Why did I assume that they would eat anything uncooked when they're clearly as civilized as I am? Let's go. Bulger utters impatiently, tapping his foot against the ground and causing Ranok to stand up. The grey wolf winks at me, while tilting his head towards the small window. Stay out of sight. I nod as he follows his companion out the bedroom. They close the doors behind, and for a moment I can hear them leave the house together. I'm finally alone. I look around the tiny room, idly patting at the bedding. There isn't much noise, mostly some distant chatter I can make out, muffled voices too far away to be intelligible. What I do hear is the forest, wind ruffling the leaves and birds chirping in the nearby trees. I am tempted to approach the window and simply take in the scenery, but I know better. I close my eyes and chuckle nervously. This is utter nonsense. I must be dreaming. Or maybe I am the one who huffs some incense. Whatever the case, I'm exhausted by all of this, so I allow my head to fall freely onto the pillow. I collapse into the fabric, allowing it to wrap around me in a warm embrace. It only takes me a moment to sink down into it. The snugness makes my eyelids droop instantly, as heavy as if they were made of lead. For some reason, I feel extremely exhausted, almost as if staying awake feels unnatural to me. I guess that's what stress does to you. I try to look at the ceiling for a bit, seeking patterns in the naked woodwork, locating different burrs and knots within the natural grain of the planks. I yawn, closing my eyes, as I feel the fatigue overtake me and I drift away into a peaceful sleep. I suddenly wake to a loud, resounding thud. I get up immediately, seeing the room covered in darkness. It's clearly night. How long was I asleep? Another thud makes me jump, but this time I know where it's coming from. Someone's banging on the window. Ranok? I call out quietly towards the next room. I know the male went to deal with his tribesmen, but I hope you already returned. The banging continues, this time more impatient, and I start to panic. I look towards the window, trying to remain hidden within the shadows of the room. I'm not supposed to be seen. I can make out a large dark figure, obviously a wolf. I think it might be one of the tribesmen snooping around. Wasn't Vulgar supposed to make sure this didn't happen? Open the damn window! I hear the familiar cold voice and exhale in relief. I approach the window feeling a lot less worried than before, quickly locating the latch holding it closed. Both wings open with a tortured creak, obviously not used to being swung open. Here's your chow, piglet. The wolf passes me a sizable bundle wrapped in linen cloth. Thank you. I respond, taking the parcel. I smile, feeling the aroma of roasted meat hit my nostrils. I nearly forgot how hungry I am. Aren't you going to come in? No one lives with Ranok, and he's not home. Besides, it's already night. I look around, noticing how dark the outside world has gotten. Can't he have a friend over? I ask, slowly unfolding the cloth. Not overnight. The black male responds, almost appalled by this suggestion. Why? Because that would make them both look defective. I make a dumb huh sound, to which he only gives me a telling gaze. Oh. I guess wolves don't like homosexuality. But just because two guys are alone in the same room at night doesn't mean that they... I try to rationalize, but I can see his rising brow with each word I utter. Yeah, that does sound a bit off now that I think about it. Is that why you're standing outside the window? Afraid that I would seduce you? To my surprise, Vulgar snorts at the suggestion and almost smiles. An actual pig would have a much better chance at that. I raise an eyebrow with a challenging smirk. It seems more suspicious to have males sneaking about windows rather than having them over for a drink. Vulgar narrows his brows, looking at me with slight amusement. You couldn't drink your way out of a piss bucket, suckling. Ouch. The jab wasn't malicious, but ouch. He's definitely being playful, but considering choking me out was his gentler side, why would I expect his verbal spars to be any tamer? I just shake my head with a smile. At least having a female over has to be normal around here, right? I don't believe even for a moment that this village is full of celibate homophobes. How about a lady caller, then? Can he have those over? Vulgar snorts again. He can, and as much as you do sound like a little bitch, it's a small tribe. I nearly choke at the sharp remark, looking at Vulgar with obvious annoyance. He clearly enjoys that at least one of his jabs finally landed. Having a female over is quite hard to misunderstand. A mate leads to rumors, rumors raise suspicion, and suspicion leads to wolves sniffing about. We wouldn't want that, would we? I shrug, finally opening the parcel to reveal its contents. It's filled with succulent cuts of meat. They don't look the most appetizing, mostly shredded apart without care, but the smell alone is enough to make my mouth water. I quickly glance around, really troubled by our little rendezvous. It does look quite conspicuous. Don't worry, I'll know if anyone gets close enough to vanish in time. I flash my brows indifferently. I guess not only Ranok is full of himself. I quickly grab one of the chunks and bring it to my lips. Volgar gazes at me with extreme curiosity, but I'm far too hungry to pay him any mind. I take a ravenous bite. The meat falls apart at the slightest touch of my tongue, almost melting inside my mouth. I gasp in satisfaction, closing my eyes in complete bliss. It's good. It's very good. But no matter how hard I try, I can't figure out what it is that I'm actually eating. Despite my memory being wiped clean, I can still recall certain things. I remember how chicken tastes, or beef. This is something different entirely. I take another chunk, hastily stuffing it into my mouth. God, I'm hungry, and this meat is hitting the spot. It tastes like nothing I ever knew. It's slightly sweet and has an earthy, almost nutty flavor to it. Oh good, what is it? I ask, still chewing through my sinew, forgetting my manners for a moment. Roasted boar. The male responds. There's an odd discomfort in his voice, but I ignore him. I'm utterly consumed by this meal, as if I can feel the large void in my stomach fill up. It's almost as if I haven't eaten forever. I take another piece of meat, reveling in its tenderness and juices. This is going to make me sick. The black male finally catches my attention with his troubled confession. I can see his distress, as if he was truly struggling to keep down his own meal. Woof! I ask, mouth still full of meat as I lick my greasy fingers. I wondered how you could eat without a muzzle, but this? He struggles, covering his snout as one does to stop a reflex. You're just stuffing it into the hole in your head. I blink in confusion as the male turns away from me. Is he serious? He's really unsettled just by watching me eat? I chuckle, making nothing of it, continuing with my meal. The idea of this large, cold warrior getting weak at the knees because of my mouth is too much. I'm about to laugh when... Blech. What the... Volgar just rushed a few steps away from the window. I look at his crouching figure in momentary disbelief, but as he purges again, I immediately take my food off the ledge. I know that if the acidy smell hits my nose, I will join him in emptying my own stomach, so I quickly close the window. I stand there, looking for any signs of him getting better, but after a while, I bring another piece of meat to my mouth with a shrug. I'm still hungry after all. Finally, Volgar appears on the other side of the glass, looking at me with an accusatory gaze. I pause, but his embarrassment makes me chuckle, and then I lose it. I explode in loud laughter, which causes the male to wave at me in panic. It only makes me laugh harder. I can't believe I made this wolf sick just by eating. Shh, be quiet! He shushes me, but I am unable to rein myself in. Shut up, flatface, or I'll come in there and choke you again. He finally growls in playful annoyance. I hush down, looking at him with a smirk. Flatface? You really need to keep quiet if anyone finds you here. I know. I roll my eyes. But I really think you three are exaggerating a little bit. I blurt out, causing the black wolf's eyes to narrow. Your people wouldn't kill me just because I got lost in the woods. I mean, even you understand this isn't right. You know nothing, piglet. I shrug, continuing to nibble on the meat. I'll only tell you this so that you have no illusions about this not being serious. Long ago, a Tigeri noble desecrated our grove. Desecrated how? He carved his name into one of the name trees. I narrow my brow, looking at him with confusion. Isn't that what a name tree is for? Like a I've been here kind of thing? No. He says with a deadly serious tone, his joviality now completely gone. They are sacred to my people, and they supposedly keep the spirits of our ancestors tethered to this world. How does that work? The wolf waves his paw at me dismissively. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that we issued punishment as our right, despite knowing it would cause a war we had little hope of winning. Wait, you killed someone just because of graffiti? Maybe if you live long enough, you will understand. For now, just accept that, to us, damaging a name tree is one of the worst crimes one can commit. I shake my head in disbelief. Was it really worth starting a war over? We didn't start it. The Tigers did. Because you killed one of their own over something so... Don't talk about things you have no understanding of. He raises his voice ever so slightly as he stifles a growl. Those trees are definitely a sore spot for the wolves. Our world ceased to exist long, long ago. Other kin saw to it. This forest and our traditions are all we have left of what was lost. I can detect an odd twinge of sadness and longing in his voice, something I've never heard before from the male. The wolves will go to any lengths to protect what's left, even if it means going to war. If anyone learns that you're here, a lynch mob would have torn you to shreds before any of us had a chance to react. I stop eating, feeling the weight of his words finally sink in. Despite not really understanding the full context of what he said, it's clear that the wolves hate other kin. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. The black male looks at me with annoyance for a moment, before exhaling heavily. Just take this seriously. It's enough that Ranok makes light of the situation. I don't want to lose my moon brother not because of... Cuts himself off, looking at me with almost apologetic gaze. Me. I finished the sentence for him, although I'm sure he meant to use some sort of insult. It's nothing personal. I know, and I'll be careful. Believe me, I do not have a death wish. The black wolf smirks at me, almost like trying to lighten the situation. Oh, well, you could have fooled me. I better go. If I stay much longer, others will wonder where I disappear to. Vol. He throws me a surprised gaze, and I can see his brow narrow slightly in annoyance. Should have used his full name, but fuck it. Thanks. He shrugs, leaving me alone, and I return to the bed. I plop onto the mattress, bouncing up and down a bit, trying to calm myself down. I really hope I didn't annoy him as much as it seemed I did. The delicious, meaty smell that drifts through the air from the parcel invites me to dig in once again. My mood instantly lifts, if only slightly, as I bite another succulent cut. It's tasty, but I don't really mind having something else to go with it. Bread! I close my eyes, instantly smiling upon the recollection of what bread is. The crunchy rim of a freshly baked loaf, the smell of it as it comes out straight from the oven. How do I even know these things? I shrug, continuing to eat. No point dwelling on it if I can't really do anything about it. Ranok's right. Everything will be revealed in time. If I can randomly remember what bread is, I'm sure I'll remember something more tangible from my previous life. Previous life. I stop chewing and chuckle, considering what I'm actually saying. Whatever happened before these wolves found me seems completely separated from what I am now. Almost as if I've been severed from the past. I look at the crumbled cloth containing my dinner. I only ate half of it, if not less. The portion is generous, true, but I also lost my appetite. What is exactly going on with me? I have no idea. I fold the cloth back up, deciding to keep the rest of the meat for later. Slowly, I approach the small dresser, the very same one that I had climbed up onto when I first met eyes with Volger. My feet brush an object across the floor and I notice the comb still lying there. I pick it up with a smile, remembering my defiant stand against the black wolf. With a shrug, I open the drawer from which I retrieved it and place it back in there. I shut it, not even looking inside. I'm a guest here. I shouldn't pry. Gently, I set the parcel down on the flat top and turn to approach the door. From what I understand, this house has at least one more room. I'm curious to see it. I put my ear to the door, trying to determine if anyone's there. Ranok? I mutter, mostly to confirm what I already know. I slowly crack the doors open to see what's actually behind them. The room is similar in size to the bedchamber I woke up in, however it has 2 windows instead of 1. I can see the orange glow of a large bonfire coming from inside, and I hear the sound of wolves talking and laughing. It almost makes me want to approach the window and have a look, but I realize I'd be immediately spotted. My pale skin would reflect the glow of the fire, making me look like a ghost behind the glass. I sigh and instead look around the room properly. There's a table with a set of chairs, another cupboard, and a large fireplace. All of it looks comfy, but incredibly rustic. Another thing I know. This is an incredibly old-timey looking house, though what a normal house would look like, I can't recall. I frown, realizing that there is no other bed. There's only a stack of blankets in front of the hearth. Ranok gave me his own bed. I approach his makeshift bedding, crouching down beside it. I can tell it was slept in recently. Strands of gray fur dot the fabric. How long was I out before I woke up for the first time? A shadow moves by the front window, causing me to drop on my knees, hiding out of sight. There's a lot of movement outside, so the village is still up and going despite the darkness. I can't tell the time, though. The passage of time is almost impossible to work out here, and although I don't know why, not being able to measure it fills me with incredible frustration. Why would I feel the need to know what time it is? Night is night. Where does the idea to even measure it come from? I shake my head. All of this is giving me a massive headache. I look around to find something to wash the meat down and find a jug on the table. I grab a cup and pour myself a glass. Taking a reluctant sip, I half expect a wine or ale, but thankfully it's just plain water. I empty the entire cup thirstily, pouring myself another round. I almost feel as if I'm having a drink for the first time in my life. Fuck. So weird. I gasp, finally having my fill. At some point, I will have to use the toilet. However, I can clearly see that there's none in the house. I wince, realizing that most likely there's an outhouse somewhere in the back. Not only does that seem Spartan, but also I'm not allowed to leave. I guess I'll have to hold it for a bit. Luckily, my body feels utterly empty, so I don't need to go just yet. Hopefully, everything will be settled before I do, and I'll be able to get out. The only thing worse than an outhouse would be a chamber pot. I cringe, shivering at the thought. Nope. I decide to return to my bed. Ranok is mostly occupied in hearing how merry everyone is outside. This might take a while. I close the doors to the bedroom behind me and approach the bed. The sounds of faint music reach my ears. It's very upbeat and almost invites one to dance. The feast seems to be quite a party. A pity I have to miss it. I allow myself to sway in the rhythm, moving from one leg to the other, almost as if remembering something I used to do once upon a time. I must look incredibly foolish. I drop onto the mattress, chuckling, filled with a little bit of nostalgia. Just sitting on the bed makes me incredibly tired. I yawn uncontrollably. I've been out for at least a day, considering Ranok had to sleep on the floor. Then why am I so exhausted? Staying awake doesn't come natural to me. My eyelids become incredibly heavy again, and I feel as if I'm wrapped in a warm, snug embrace. It must be the meal I ate. So much meat is quite heavy for your stomach. That must be it. I'm just getting drowsy from eating. I rest my head on the pillow and close my eyes, allowing myself to drift away into that familiar nothingness. But it isn't nothingness. This time, I don't lose awareness. Panic grips at my heart as I realize that I'm back where I was at the beginning of all this. No. I don't want to feel like this again. My body begins to fade into oblivion, all senses abandoning me aside from my consciousness. That's when the familiar voice returns, a multitude of words spoken all at once. I want to scream, but all I can do is simply think. What do you want? One chance. I feel a searing pain within my soul, as if the words hurt me. Stop. My whole body begins to scream in unimaginable agony. No, you stop! I demand, unable to contain myself in this pit of despair. Too late. I want to fight back, but each word pushes me closer and closer to the brink of madness. I don't know whether the voices stop themselves, or did I simply give in, but after the last wave of pain, I pass out. Everything returns to that familiar feeling of abandon. Not a single dream reaches me, or at least that's what I think. It's as if I drifted away on the pillow, filled with a delicious meal, and everything simply paused. However, I can't shake off this odd feeling of dread. I feel something ominous at the edge of my consciousness. I feel like I'm being watched. Creaking plank stirs me from my sleep. I open my eyes in a panic, seeing nothing but darkness before me. I quickly locate the window, trying to confirm if I haven't returned to the void. It's simply night and I'm still here, in this strange world filled with talking wolves. Another creak causes me to jump. Who's there? The shadow of a large beast moves slightly, sitting at the foot of the bed, its eyes glistening in the dark. My blood freezes and I'm about to scream when a hint of a light betrays a familiar gray coat. Ranok! God, why? I squeak out in both relief and panic. Couldn't sleep. The wolf shrugs casually. And I wanted to get to know you better, without others hanging onto our every word. And you intended to do that by creeping onto the bed in the middle of the night? It was held up longer than expected. Ranok gives me a goofy smile, as if he doesn't understand why this could be so unsettling. Isn't it the middle of the night? I try to reiterate. You're a wolf. Yes, and you're a human. We've established that already. My point exactly. He gives me another naive smile, causing me to sigh in resignation. Most humans would find this whole setup extremely terrifying. Most wolves would find you extremely terrifying. The Grey Wolf retorts teasingly. Disgusting, maybe. I smirk, rolling my eyes as I recall Volgar's earlier reaction. I don't find you disgusting. He protests, laughing. Do you find me terrifying? He grins, playfully baring his fangs at me, but I try not to flinch. I'm not really sure what the answer he expects, but I decide to be honest. I do? Good. He nods with satisfaction. What good is a wolf if a tiny human doesn't fear him? He laughs, widening his smile and jokingly punching my shoulder. You want me to fear you? I ask teasingly, drawing a mischievous growl from Ranok's throat. Despite it being just a game, it did startle me, but I keep my composure. Or so I think, because Ranok simply laughs at me, his tail swooshing on the bed in glee. Doesn't take much to get your heart pumping, does it? Fuck, I forgot that he has a heart rate monitor in his head. Wait, what? Just for a moment, I can almost hear a rhythmic beeping before it vanishes into nothingness. I heard it before. Just before everything went black. Before I woke up in this room. To die so young. I think I died. The wolf blinks, completely thrown off by my remark. Is that your usual pickup line? Ranok smirks slyly, his tail slapping the bed in anticipation. This time, I'm the one blinking. What? I think I died and went to heaven. He grins flirtatiously, sliding closer towards me. What? No! I protest, pushing myself away. What's wrong with you? None of this is funny.
I almost shout out in annoyance. I know I'm not angry at him. I don't even understand why I'm angry in the first place, but I feel as if I'm mourning my own passing. I couldn't be dead. But then, where the hell am I? What the fuck is going on? I look at him wide-eyed, feeling as they swell with tears. The wolf moves back to his original spot, looking defeated. He's slouching with his ears folded back and his tail tucked to the side. I'm sorry. I didn't. You act like this is all fun and games, but I'm truly terrified. My voice cracks as my mind races out of control. I'm at the edge of the abyss, just a step away from falling back into the dark hole. I'm really scared. The wolf stands up, causing the mattress to perk back up as his weight disappears. That much is clear, he mutters sorrowfully. He sulks towards the door, obviously taking my outburst to heart. Ever since I woke up in this strange world, he's been nothing but kind and caring towards me. Even through my memory loss, deep in my heart, I know it's something I rarely experienced. It's not fair for him to feel dejected just because I'm paranoid. I'll leave you be. He opens the door with a solemn expression. Wait. His brow raises at my sudden request. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to explode like this. Please, don't leave me alone. Not now. He tilts his head in bewilderment at my pleading expression. I thought you didn't want me here. No, I do. I really do. It's just hard to stay in the moment with all the thoughts spinning in my head. I think that's why I'm sleeping so much. To get a break. He closes the doors and hastily returns to my side. What happened? I had not a memory, but something flashed through my mind. It really spooked me. I can see that. The wolf sits down next to me, his fur brushing against my skin. It's soft and inviting. He looks at me inquisitively, but I only sit there struggling to maintain my composure. As I'm about to lose the battle, he reaches around my back and pulls me close into a warm embrace. Resisting crosses my mind, but I instantly banish the thought. All I want is to feel safe, and for whatever reason, every time he's around, he makes me feel just that. I surrender myself completely and I allow him to cradle me into his chest. I try to calm myself down as he idly ruffles my hair. What was it? I don't know, but it makes me feel dead. You aren't dead. Certainly doesn't feel like I am. But still. I breathe heavily into his chest, his musk and the smell of the forest filling my nose. He must have been drinking, since I can detect a faint whiff of wine coming from him. It's a calming combination, almost like some sort of inhaling balm. His gentle strokes and steady rising and falling of his chest soothe me further. Within moments, I manage to compose myself, and once I can hear his tail wag again, I gently push myself away from the wolf. I sigh, resting my face against my arms in resignation. This whole thing is messed up. I feel him place a paw on my head. I feel so vulnerable. He ruffles my hair softly, the paw's weight matching the feeling in my gut. It's okay. You know that none of us would hurt you, right? That's not it. I find myself looking up, his paw still gently stroking my head, as my blurry eyes meet his. You keep saying that everything is going to be fine, but none of it is fine. I don't know who I am, who you are. I stretch out my arms as if trying to encompass the entire world. You say that talking wolves are normal, that there are other beast folk out there, like it's something obvious. I look down at my twitching leg. All of this is news to me, as if I was born yesterday. Ranok just sits there, petting my head and listening. That simple gesture is the most comforting thing I've felt since I woke up. You simply lost your memory. With time, everything will come back to you. I'm sure of it. The wolf forces a smile onto his muzzle. He's trying to encourage me, but we both know that that's all that is, an encouragement. How can he be so sure? Because I trust the ancestors. Our paths crossed for a reason. I roll my eyes. I'm not his damn wish. Anyway, talking wolves, ancestors, and name trees. I feel like I'm dreaming. Well, even if it is a dream. He cuts off, biting his lip. I see his expression shift, as if he's thinking something over, and the paw on the top of my head comes to a stop. Aside from the whole memory loss, is it a bad dream to have? Or am I that much of a nightmare to be around? I look up at his teasing expression and blink. The paw starts to softly ruffle my hair again, and I can't help but chuckle, forcing my welled-up eyes to release 2 stray tears. It's so surreal, but I have to give Ranok credit. He's a smooth talker. No, you're not. I scoff, and this time he chuckles. I envy his light-hearted attitude. Even though he faces almost as harsh consequences of his misadventure as I do, he doesn't seem to mind. If anything, he seems very set on protecting me and making me feel safe. Once he sees me smile, he withdraws his paw, and we sit like that for a moment until I finally break the silence. Why did you save me? Like I said, the ancestors guided me towards my path. I shake my head. I'm not a path. First, let me walk it, and then we'll decide. He smiles slyly. You're betting quite a lot on me. If you found me next to your name tree, why did you take me in? Vol told me that your people are willing to go to war over them. Ranok laughs. Don't call him Vol to his muzzle unless you want to be choked again. He pauses, thinking over what I just said. As for the tree, you didn't harm it. But what if it was harmed? I pose a question despite being troubled by what his answer may be. It wasn't. Hypothetically. What if whoever left me in the forest damaged it, and I was only collateral? What would you do then? I don't want to talk about it. Just answer the question. Ranok looks away, clearly disturbed by the scenario. His ears splay back as he struggles to give me an answer, but the silence speaks for itself. Had someone damaged the tree, I would pay the price. Despite my worst suspicion being confirmed, I'm glad the wolf at least is being honest with me. I'm not offended, just saying that our situation is quite circumstantial. For something you believe to be fated, a lot of things could have played out differently. The wolf looks at me with an irritated expression. Why do you do this? I saved you, didn't I? He clearly doesn't enjoy this little mental exercise. Because if the tree was damaged, you wouldn't have. And if that's the case, it's hard for me to see this as fate. You're reading too much into this. I'm not. Had I damaged the tree even by accident, you would have killed me. The wolf finally stands up, snarling at me with a genuine anger, his muzzle baring his fangs like I've never seen before. Yes, I would have killed you. Is that what you want to hear? I pull away from him in fear. I can't bear to see him like this, like the feral beast he actually is. Noticing my reaction, the wolf's expression softens, and its fangs hide behind his remorseful expression. He sighs in resignation and silence falls over us. Eventually, Ranok smiles at me, giving me a patronizing look. That's what fate is though, isn't it? A lot of things falling into place in just the right way. I roll my eyes again. I guess that's something I'm going to do a lot around this wolf. There's no point in arguing about this. He's too set in his ways. I still don't understand why you would be willing to kill someone over a tree. There's more to it than that. His expression sours. Well then, enlighten me. Ranok looks at me concerned, as if unsure if he should elaborate on the subject. Please? He nods reluctantly, sitting back on the bed but keeping an appropriate distance. Whenever a pup is born, we plant a special sapling within the grove. It's fashioned from the seeds of their parents' name tree. I can see a cheeky grin paint on the gray wolf's muzzle. Well, when a mommy tree loves a daddy tree very, very much... Oh, fuck off. I scoffed through a chuckle accompanied by Ranok's laughter. Well, what did you want me to say? He barks out defensively. Sorry that I don't know how to make tree babies. It's simple, really. You just pollinate a seed of one of the trees with the other. Uh-huh. And then what? I'm certain I have a very confused look on my face as the wolf regards me with mild frustration. You just plant it. As the pup lives long enough to earn a name, that name is then carved into the growing tree. When we die, we are buried beneath them, so that we can become one. This allows our spirits to stay in the world a little longer, to guide our people. As long as the tree lives, our ancestors are still with us. I take a moment to digest the information. So that's what Vulgar meant by saying the ancestors reside inside of them? It's their resting place? The gray wolf blinks, looking at me in shock. Vol talked about that? I'm surprised. He doesn't open up to just anyone about spiritual stuff. I'm not sure if he's trying to make me feel better or speaking the truth about the black male. Despite Vulgar's earlier actions, I'm already warming up to him, and I'd like to think that he's starting to warm up to me in turn. We sit there for a moment in silence, but I don't mind. His presence alone is enough to put me at ease, or at least as much at ease as he himself is. Despite sitting next to each other, I have to look up to meet his gaze, his form towering over me. I say slowly, thinking back to the dark void which held me so enviously before I opened my eyes. It almost feels as if it's still here somewhere, hiding at the edges of my vision and waiting to reclaim me. The persistent thought of me actually being dead doesn't help either. Perhaps those are just the last imaginings of my slowly fading mind. What a horrible thought. If this is just a dream, then I'm not sure I want to wake up. Then don't. He closes his eyes, smiling. Everything is so simple for him. I feel like I don't have a choice in the matter, if I've lost all sense of agency. The wolf looks at me with a worried expression, but then proceeds to look out the window. We sit like this for a moment, and I find myself staring at the world outside. The calm of the night claimed the forests, and the moonlight bathes in a hue of midnight blue. Maybe it's the exact opposite. I look up at the wolf, confusion obviously painted on my face. You have a clean slate. You can start a new life. No mistakes of the past to weigh you down. No attachments, no strings. I narrow my brow, almost feeling as if he made light of my circumstance. Would you trade places with me then? I would, he says without hesitation. I blink, caught off guard by the statement. It sounded almost sincere. I've made many mistakes in my life, and my future was already decided long before I was born. I knew who I would be. When and who I made with, everything is predetermined without my say. You're the first actual choice I had. Who's without agency here? He forces a challenging smirk, and I reciprocate with a smile. Wait, mate? I cough, surprised that I actually asked that out loud. Ranok looks at me with a bit of confusion, but quickly laughs loudly. I look at his massive jaw, teeth glittering in the dim light of the moon. It used to send shivers down my spine, but now it makes me smile in amazement. Funny how that's the only thing that stuck out to you. I cough, pulled back into the conversation. Oh God. My face flushes red as I realize what he just implied. It was the odd one out. Right. He muses, looking at me teasingly. Honestly, I don't know anything about your traditions. I could teach you. I bite my lip, sensing a trap. But at the same time, learning their customs isn't such a bad idea. especially if I were to stay here until I get better. If I were to get better. And hey, might even jog some of my memories. Finally, I smile, nodding. Okay, teach me. Well, we are all set up to mate with a compatible pair in our childhood. Once we come of age, we... Not that! The heat rises to my cheeks and I try to shoo away the mental image of him having sex. Oh god, now it's in my head. I feel my face burning up and I hide in my palms as the wolf laughs merrily. I meant the culture. I mumble, still guarding my face from ridicule. Well, it is our culture. Might even say one of its most important aspects. I can't argue with that. So, I finally managed to compose myself. I'm not a child anymore. I shouldn't act like one, giggling and blushing upon hearing a no-no. I raise my head and look up at Ranok. You basically grew up knowing who you'll have to be with? I know you humans do things differently. We don't stay with our mates. We generally just mate to produce the most desirable offspring, to further the tribe. He states that matter-of-factly. The thought of living like that almost makes me feel sad. Don't wolves feel... love? Ranok laughs again, this time even louder, as if I cracked the best joke he'd heard the entire day. What does love have to do with it? It has a lot to me. I blurt out, almost gasping and covering my mouth. Somehow I managed to rein in that impulse. I don't want the wolf to misconstrue me. We do love Emilio, but it doesn't factor into procreation. We mate for the tribe. We love for ourselves. I look at him confused. It sounds so wrong, yet do I even have a point of reference? I can't remember my life before this whole mess, so how am I so sure that it's not the case for everyone? However, my gut tells me that this is not what I agree with. The wolf looks at me, seeing the gears turning behind my mask of silence. He decides to break it. I know humans take mating seriously. I've heard they vow loyalty to each other, which also includes... This time he bites his lip. I almost shiver seeing the fang perk out, but again the wolf laughs. The cardinal side of things. This makes me blush again, as the image of me having sex pops up into my head. How would that even work? Did I ever have sex? I try to imagine the act and I jump in the bed with a yelp, startling the wolf. Whoa, what happened? I turn as red as a brick, quickly looking away from him. Why? Why does my mind do this to me? Why did it show me with him? He's a talking beast man. What the hell, brain? You're a furry. I shake my head. There's nothing to it. I know there isn't. I just don't remember what other people look like. All I know is him. Ugh. Why do I even explain myself to myself? I just need to rein my thoughts in. That's all. Are you okay? Did you remember something? The wolf sounds worried, placing his massive paw on my shoulder. The sheer sensation causes me to inexplicably shiver. Perhaps you took the vows with someone? What? No! I protest as hard as I can, almost offended at the insinuation. But quickly my resolve melts away as I realize that I don't know. I have no clue. I might have. I slump back into my hands, struggling to contain my tears once again. This is so messed up. Who even am I? Out of the corner of my eye, I see his big paws surround me, with massive claws at their end. My heart skips a beat, but I don't allow myself to be terrified. It wouldn't be fair, not to him. The wolf leans in closer, and again I feel his embrace. The warmth of his fur completely envelops me, and I feel his heavy breath brush my hair and fall down my neck. You're Emilio. That's all that matters. He murmurs softly, rubbing my back with his paws. I chuckle into his chest, feeling so safe in his embrace, as if nothing could happen to me while he holds me close. I feel those things, certain truths, but I can't be certain of them at all. The wolf still holds me tight in his arms. I wonder if he even hears me through his fur, but he quickly disperses my doubts. If you feel strongly about anything, don't doubt it. Even if I can't remember. Especially if you can't remember. The wolf gently pushes me away so that our eyes can meet again. He has a soft smile with the most reassuring gaze he can muster. Your feelings are your compass. Follow them. Then I know I never took the vows. I chuckle, rubbing away the tears. I look back towards him and laugh as I realize I'm taking life advice from a talking wolf, while simultaneously assuring both of us that I'm not taken. He smiles back while reaching up to my cheek. With one finger, he gently rubs it, clearing a single stray tear that I missed. Panic begins to take hold of me as the very same finger ventures towards my eye, claw glistening in the faint light, but I manage to rein my fear. Ranok picks up a loose eyelash and presents it to me with a smile. Not even knowing why, I just make a wish and blow it away. The wolf blinks in astonishment and then smiles. What was that? I don't know. It's just something I felt like doing. Ranok smiles. See? You've got a good compass. Indeed. And if this is all but a dream, then I don't mind if it lasts a little while longer. And that's where I'm gonna leave it for today. So, we got to spend more time with Ranok. And he's clearly a little bit of a flirt. Or not very little bit of a flirt. He gets pretty flirtatious as the story goes along. And we also got to meet Verissa, who, aside from the other two wolves, is also one of my favorite characters, especially as the story goes along. She's very cool, I guess. She's what I want in a female character in a story. To be like very assertive and just take no shit from her male peers. But anyways, thank you all for watching/listening. If you would like to play Far Beyond the World yourself, there will be a link down in the description. If you would like to support the creator, there will be a link down in the description as well for their Patreon. And if you would like to follow them on Twitter, there will also be a link down for their Twitter handle thing. And yeah. There's there's an update for the smoke room, which I will be doing soon. I don't know if it'll be out next week, but probably, because I'm going to be playing that, so I might as well record it while I'm playing it. So, it'll probably be out soon. But yeah, so anyways, I will see you guys next time, and bye-bye.